Hello and welcome to the Build With Baer Workshop. My name is Pat Bear. I'm here to build a model kit and hang out with all of you. I'm going to go ahead and throw the Bear Cave, the Lego, and the Site the Moat into chat, and also the Tier 2 emote, the pretty new Tier 2 emote, the blue emote. If you're currently a subscriber, you can reply with those emotes. If you're not yet a subscriber, you can just say hi or use other people's emotes, or just be a lurker and chill. You also please put the emotes in as a thank you to Jam. We're going to hit the applause. Thank you, Jam, for subscribing with Prime for 54 months. That's fantastic. We are currently at 42 subscribers. The goal is 45. And then beyond that, 50. We're always shooting for 50. We will be very pleased with 45. Also, because I did have a tier 2, I used to have, a while back, I had 3 tier 2 subscribers, but for quite a long time I had 2, and now I'm down to just Aristophan and myself are the only ones that could use that emote, because I can use all the emotes because it's my channel. But Aristophan is the only person, not me, that can use that emote, because now I'm down to just one, which is, that's like 2 people not subscribing anymore a month instead of 1 person. So, it matters a bit. So if you want to become a subscriber, gift a sub to somebody in the community, you could do that. You don't have to at all. You may notice that the lighting is a little different now. I'm not done with this, and this isn't right. But here's the deal. My overhead lighting for my model kit, I adjusted that, but now it's too high. What it needs to be is over my build area, but not over my face. And right now it is over my face, so it splashes onto my own face. So maybe I could I do this? No, I want to do this. I can turn down the light that's supposed to actually illuminate my face, and maybe that'll help some, but I don't know. I'm just looking at my preview monitor, and I'm like, that's too much. But then if I'm recording and I'm not using, whatever. It's not done yet. Basically, my old bendy arm that I used for my webcam when my overhead camera was a webcam, I have that just around. I put a light on that instead of a clamp. And it's working, but it's not perfect. So I'll be adjusting. I gotta find the sweet spot. Right now, I don't have the sweet spot. So my apologies. But everything should be very visible when we go to the overhead, which we will in a moment. Tonight's stream, we will be talking about some wrestling. We're going to talk about a new anime series, Black Summoner. We'll be talking about the second episode of an anime I've been watching, Phantom of the Idol, which is fun. No second episode for Teppen, Laughing Till You Cry. Their Twitter account on Friday, the day it was supposed to come out, was just like, hey, due to unforeseen circumstances, no episode 2 this week, which is worrying. They replayed episode 1 again. And that's not great, because I liked the first episode of that, and I was looking forward to watching episode 2. But I can't. And that's weird. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to retweet my tweet, see if we can get a few more friends to join us tonight, and then we'll get into it. And we're going to start, first we're going to start by going to the overhead. Here's the overhead, you can see. So yeah, I don't know if this is better than it was, but I think in my mind, the lighting is better than it was on Thursday. I don't know. But anyway, no, Lashbrook. Teppen was not the one that had a presidential assassination plot and got yanked. I don't know what that was. Please let me know if you can figure that out, because I don't know what that is. No, Teppen, Laughing Till You Cry, is the one I talked about last Saturday. It's the anime about Monza. It's the show about girls that are in trios, which is not a normal Monza thing, competing to be popular comedians, and they all live in the same dorm, and there are 15 of them, which is too many characters. Even if the focus is probably going to be on just 3 of them, It's still too many goddamn characters. It's like a mega idol group in here. That's Teppen Laughing Till You Cry. I don't know what the one is that has an assassination plot and got yanked. Unless episode 2 had an assassination plot and they made the whole thing and then the day of were like, yikes. But I don't know. Anime with a... I'm gonna now look it up. Anime. Let's see if anybody wrote about this. And then we'll hit news. No. Also, it would be like, obviously, timing wise, someone in the Japanese government was shot and killed. So Teppen is the one I heard the rumor about. So if there was a joke about, I'll say this. If in Teppen there was a joke about a assassination, I could totally understand why they wouldn't air that episode. Considering they announced it the day it was supposed to come out, it would make total sense if that's why. I just saw people covering the tweet that they put out, episode 2 will be out, and then is this Reddit talking about this? We'll see. We'll see if the thing going around is a Reddit thing, which Reddit. Laughing Till You Cry episode 2 will be skipped during airing tomorrow due to certain events. And then people are like, oh. And then people are saying that episode 1 will be re-aired, and then they're going to skip episode 2 and just go to episode 3 because somebody saw a screenshot that the MC is stopping an assassination attempt on the president was the plot of, or at least element of the plot of episode 2. And then someone is saying that. But I also don't know. Like, hey, I'm going to say, I don't know if that's true or not. And it's bad timing. And also a weird idea for an episode of your show. Hey, Lord Crashington subscribed. Let's change the subject. Lord Crashington, we're going to hit the old applause there. Thank you very much for 36 months. Hit the old applause there. Let's throw the emotes in the chat. Lord Crashington says, hey, Pat, hope things are going well. Keep up the great work, and we're only 5 days away from Power Wash Simulator 1.0. Indeed, Power Wash Simulator is releasing next Thursday. So let's throw the emotes in. Thank you very much, Lord Crashington, for subscribing for 36 months. That's fantastic. Appreciate that. And Lord Crashington wants me to hit the dance button, which I will. Here's some dancing. Do-do-do-do-do. I hope you were dancing at home. I'm going to actually see what I'm doing this coming Wednesday. Let's see what the revote... Okay, so with 50% of the vote this coming Wednesday, which is the day before Power Wash Simulator, which will play the following Wednesday, 1.0, Steed Force Hobby Studio, which is a mini-game model kit builder within Last Call BBS. So I'll be playing I'll play all of what's available in the model kit builder part of that, the mini game, and then probably other stuff in Last Call BBS, but the focus will be on that. That'll be on Wednesday. So now we know that. Now let's actually get into model kit building here. Now that we've discovered the possible reason why Teppen Laugh Until You Cry episode 2 is going to look. All I know is they said, unforeseen circumstances, we're not airing episode 2. If they just skip at the second episode, I mean, it is an episodic series following 3 girls that want to continue to do well in this stand-up competition. And I guess a later episode could just add in, because they're not done with all 12 or whatever. I guess they could just add in some context if there was anything in episode 2 that they missed, I guess. But it is fucking weird. Shitty work week, so I'm rewarding myself with some quinoa for the few days I have off. Hell yeah, Lord Creston. First off, sorry for the shitty work week. Sorry about that. I hope you enjoy quinoa and some good free time. All right. It's been too much time on this stream without me fucking talking about this shit. We got to talk about this. I went to a expensive restaurant last night because my uncle is in town, and my uncle is a priest, and in his former church there is someone who owns a lot of restaurants. So one of the restaurants he owns is here in South Carolina. Again, to be specific, not my uncle. My uncle doesn't own restaurants. It's just that a owns some restaurants, including one here. And so near here, I should say, near here. So my uncle was like, well, I definitely want to go to this restaurant. And we were all like, okay, we'll go to this restaurant. So we went to this restaurant, and it was very expensive. While I'm getting these pieces together, I'm going to bring up the photo I took hastily of the menu. So I didn't get any of the steak because it was very expensive. I was not paying, but I did have even though I was not paying and was with my uncle, who I love very much, and my parents, who I love very much, my fight or flight instincts did kick in, and I did want to flee this very expensive place and just go, I changed my mind and leave, but I didn't because that was not an option. So let me just tell you that they had a 18-ounce Kansas City strip bone-in, 5-day dry-aged upper choice certified Angus beef. Will be served medium rare. $65. $65 for an 18-ounce Kansas City steak. Also, must tell you that $65 is just for the steak because they were served a la carte. So if you wanted sides or a salad or anything else besides just that piece of meat, you had to pay for that separately. But well, maybe you don't want the $18 or the 18 ounce, as you say. What about a 16-ounce prime ribeye? Prime ribeye, 16 ounce. Yeah, that sounds great. $90. $90 steak. And it's just the steak. There's nothing else. You don't get anything else. You just get the steak. As you may have been able to discern, I didn't get the fucking steak. Let's see. How do I attach this stuff? So I can understand how that part goes. How does this part go? Sorry, I have to figure out how this whole thing works here before because this is part 3. And then it ends up looking like this. Oh, okay. So this attaches there. So this can attach there. Okay. I got it now. Sorry. This whole shoulder piece thing is just nonsense. The way they don't have dollar signs in the menu makes the part of my brain hurt. Yes, I understand. It is, it's a lot. So I got, now, I should say this. The food, delicious. I will talk about my meal, which did come with sides. Now, I should also say, I read the menu and decided that I was going to get the duck breast, the $36 duck breast. I was going to pick that duck breast up, and that seemed good. The price was certainly a lot, but that's what I was going with. It just said paired with sides, no substitutions. So I don't know. I did not know what it was coming with. I just knew duck breast, and also cooked rare to medium rare. So can't make any choices on that
front. You just have to go with it. You have to be like, okay, well, this is what you want to serve. This is how you want to serve me.
I believe these are the beam weapons right here, or the holders for the beam weapons. So we'll do that.
So what did I end up getting? You may be wondering. Well, with my meal. Well, I got the old duck breast, which was fantastic. It came with what do you call it?
What is that vegetable? Asparagus. Came with asparagus. Yeah, it came with asparagus, which was good. Asparagus, not particularly my favorite vegetable, but I'll eat it. And I don't have a problem with that. And it was good. It was prepared well. Then it also came with couscous, which I like. I like couscous. Mediterranean style, because this was a Moroccan inspired dish. So Mediterranean style. When I tell you this couscous tasted like, I couldn't decide what it tasted like because it had raisins and almonds pieces in it, and it had something else. It had something kind of seasoning, flavor profile that I couldn't put my finger on. And then I realized it tasted kind of like carrot cake. You know what I mean? That like the raisins and like a brown sugar, perhaps, and the and the almonds. It had a carrot cake vibe to it. It was good. It was good couscous. I liked it. And then the duck. Now, when they said rare - medium rare, they meant that the outside was lightly charred, your medium rare, and the inside was rare. And it was cut up like a loin, like a pork cut. So there were tiny little cuts of it. It was already cut. It didn't look like a turkey breast. I mean, it's duck, but it didn't look like a bird. It didn't look like a fowl. It looked like I said, it looked like someone sliced pork loin or something. It tasted very fucking good. The fat was around the outside of the breast, which was very tasty and well prepared. It was one of those things where you're like, I don't know if this was worth $36, but it was good. My dad, this is very funny if you know my dad, which none of you do. None. Let me check chat right now. Just going to quickly look at my who's in chat right now. None of you know my dad. So that I will say, since none of you know my dad, he got a pasta dish, which is not surprising for him, but it was technically the vegetarian item because it didn't have any meat in it. So it was vegetarian, and it was very funny for my dad to be like, "Oh, I'm getting the pasta," and then later I was like, I was kidding him. I'm like, I can't believe you got the vegetarian thing, and he was like, "What? It's not." Oh, it is. He seemed to like it. And my mother and my uncle got the grouper, and they seemed to enjoy the grouper as well. That seemed to go over well with them. But it was, it was like they were very attentive waiter, good meal. Bread was tasty. It came out very quickly. As meal, suddenly we had it. But it was a lot. Like their prime rib is aged in a clear case in the lobby of the, so when you come in, you can just see it. Like that's the vibe we're dealing with here. I'm going to guess I'll never be back. I think it's fair to say that I will never return to that restaurant. But I was happy to go. I'm happy to hang out with my uncle. This is probably his last event. I should point this out. He's 90 years old. And he flew from Connecticut here to South Carolina. And then he's flying from South Carolina to... okay, let me just make sure this looks right. Okay. And then we'll panel line this piece and keep going. Yes, Lord Crashington. If it was something where I was paying my own way, I would have not eaten. I would have gotten the salad.
I would have just gotten the salad. I would have not have spent that money on myself. But yeah, he flew here from Connecticut, and he is then flying to see my uncle and aunt, and then he's going back to Connecticut, and then in August he's flying to Michigan to hang out with his friend, which he does every year. But this is apparently, according to him anyway, his last time doing that. So this will be it as far as that goes. And then, so the next time I see him will be when I go to Connecticut at some point. So it is nice to see him. Nice. Stevie, yeah, that is also my home state. While I did live in, here's the weird thing. I was born in Connecticut and lived there until I moved to New York at age 21. But then I lived in New York from age 21 to 40, and then moved here to South Carolina from 40 to now 42. So even though Connecticut's where I'm from, because I lived so long in New York, also there was a year where I lived in Albany, so I didn't actually live that entire 21 years in Connecticut. It's more like 20, but whatever. I'm still a New Yorker in my mind, even though I'm a Connecticut native. But I'm from Connecticut, and also my uncle still lives there. I still have some other relatives that live in Connecticut as well. Both sides of my family. I still have some people, so I'm still in touch with folks there. But yeah, my heart is still in New York. I am not a South Carolinian. I do not consider myself from the Carolinas or a real resident of the Carolinas, even though I've been here now a little over 2 years, which is too long. But I'm still like, yeah, I guess I live here. I live here, but I'm not, really here. Nice. Stevie has lived in New York City for the last 15 years. Hell yeah. I miss New York. I miss it just about every damn day. I love that city. I did not leave because I wanted to. I left because this is what I said when people ask about, like, oh, what happened? You were there and then you weren't. You were there for so long. 2019, I lost my full-time job, which paid very well for the amount of work I did. It was a lot of work, but it paid well. And then I got a bunch of smaller jobs. So I wasn't doing great in 2019. And then because I worked in theaters, there weren't any jobs for me in 2020 when everything shut down. And New York City is a very expensive city to live in without full-time income, with like meager internet income that I had. So I moved here to South Carolina, where I have been since. I am going to visit New York in August. I'm going for a weekend. I'm going to see some friends, see some comedy shows. I am tentatively booked on an improv show. I'm going to sit in with some friends. Supposedly, that's Sunday night that I'll be up there. I might stream if my Airbnb allows for it. And then I will go to meetings. I'm going to have some meetings with some people, and I'm going to try to make it work that they might give me money in exchange for working for them. And I would have a job to come back to in New York, which would be great. Yes, Stevie says it right. It's hard to live here even with a good job, in quotes. Yes, no. New York is a great job in New York is still like, okay, I'm doing whatever. I was still like in debt. I wasn't like doing like amazing in New York in 2018. But once we got to 2019, it was like, oh, I can't. I'm trying to figure this out. And then 2020 happened, and it was like, oh well, I was still figuring it out. Like I'm not done figuring it out. What do I do? And what I ended up doing was moving. But anyway, this place was nice. I was happy to go to this fancy restaurant, but I'm also glad that I did not run away. And I've had like experiences like that. Like I lived in New York, and in my 20s, I didn't understand this. That like,
oh, I need to ask people when they say, oh, I know exactly where we should go. I need to follow up on what kind of place is it? What are the prices like? Because a thing that happens is, well, it's easy to just like imagine everyone is doing as well as you in your friend group or your social group, because I was in the comedy scene, and like that's not true, because some people worked full day jobs with like a career and they did comedy at nights and the weekends, and other people were struggling actors who did a bunch of jobs to make ends meet while pursuing comedy, and other people were like fucking rich. They were just trust fund people and just did this as a lark, or they did want to be comedians, but they also had a nest egg. And it took me a little while to recognize that everybody had like a different thing, and it was you needed to know that when making plans, because suddenly you might end up at a place where the salad is $40 and you just aren't gonna eat because you can't do that. So I got very good at finding out like ahead of time how much a place was. And then in my 30s, I got very good at saying no. Sometimes I would have an excuse, depending on the person. But other times I would just say, hey, there's 100,000 Italian places in New York. Pick one that doesn't cost that much money, please. I'm not going to Carmine's with you because it's a Friday. I will maybe go because it's your birthday, maybe, if you give me enough notice. But I'm not just going to go to this, like, incredibly expensive, good restaurant just because, like, you kind of want to go there. Like, no, I can't do that. Morton's is very good, but I'm not going. Yeah, I'm like, if you give me enough notice, I will have enough money to go to the Peruvian steakhouse in Williamsburg that is incredible and not super expensive, but more than I would normally pay for a meal. We'll do that. Like, but you have to tell me so that I will buy ramen for a couple days before that, and dollar slices of pizza instead of $3 slices of pizza, because I'm saving up to go and spend a bunch of money on very good Peruvian steaks. And I will do that, but you got to tell me. You can't just be like, hey, I know a great place. What does that mean? Yes, Lashbrook, there was an entire Friends episode about this very topic, about the people that had means versus the people that did not have means, and how they were not as understanding, which also they had to do for the episode to work, but like there were definitely times where Monica had no money, but at this point did, and she should have understood that more and didn't, and it was weird. I remember that episode being like, I need a little more explanation on Monica's part in all of this. All right, so this does not match up. I did something wrong here. This one. And now I have to figure out what I did wrong, because this does not line up right in here. This is high, and it should not be high. It should be low. So what did I do wrong? One of these is wrong, and I think it's this one, and I don't know why. And that's fun. That's fun. Okay, so that's the hook part. And then the hook part goes in like this. Oh, no, that's right. Okay, I just had it. Okay, I had it opened too much. It's like that. Okay, I did do it right. Great. All right, we are now almost done with our shoulders. This has been so much work. The first time I went to Peter Luger, I didn't know what I was walking into. Good thing the guy I was with was paying, but I didn't know until I got there and gasped at the prices. Yes, that can happen, right? And we have to be okay with, like, your flight instinct takes over, right? Because you're like, oh. And maybe sometimes it's tied up with, I don't deserve to spend this much money on food. I don't have that because I am worth a lot. And I will pay a good amount of money. I don't want to, but I will pay a good amount of money for excellent food. Because I somewhat have an inflated opinion of myself, but also, like, whatever. Shit, who cares? But the real thing is that I understand that I'm like, all right, well, I was just surprised, and I don't want to do this. I remember. Okay, so this was PAX West when it was still called PAX Prime. I was I was hanging out with some friends, and we were like gonna get some food, right? And there were like some indie developers, there were some people high up in some companies, and there were some games friends, games journalism friends, right? I'm not gonna say who was there, but it was a mix. It was like me, some indie developers, some high up on some big developers that worked with big companies, and then some game dev folks. And we're all there, or game journalist folks. And we're all there, and we're having a good time, hanging out, talking, whatever. We go into this restaurant, and we sit down, and it's a place that was going to close, but somebody in our group convinced them to stay open for us. And the menus come out, and I see people like talking and ordering drinks on one end of the table, and at the other end of the table is my like independent game developer friends. And I just see them like they're sitting next to each other, like talking and just like low tones at each other. And I immediately know what's up. And so I lean over and I go, don't get the most expensive thing on the menu, but don't worry about getting the cheapest thing or splitting a thing. Eat well, eat whatever you want, because of that other end of the table, when the check comes, it's going to be one check. And those two fine gentlemen are going to argue over who is calling this a business expense. So you don't have to worry about it. And they were like, hey, Dirty. And they were like, are you, yeah? And I was like, yes. And then one of them was like, we should check. Hey, Harold. And I was like, okay, I will ask, because this is not one of my things that I have an issue with. And so I just like, kind of not loudly, but I just like made eye contact with somebody, and I was just like, one of you's got this, right? Because this place is expensive. Because like I made okay money, but I didn't make like eat at that place money. Like and then it was just like, and yeah, and then they immediately started arguing about like, well, oh, I don't, yeah. And then one of them was just like, well, when do you have a game coming out? And then they started talking, and he goes, great, we talked about business. This is a business dinner. Thanks, everybody. Because also, that person who ended up picking up the check, nobody was looking at how much money he was spending at a convention. Because it was business. Also, this was like a few years ago. Business is probably a little different now. But at that point, fine. The amount of money that person's company was spending for a booth was so much more than he was spending for a dinner. So, like, sure, not a problem. Let the Richies fight. Indeed. I showed my dad that menu you shared, and he said those prices looked like baby toast prices. Business, indeed. It's got to be a fun way to write off a bunch of expenses. Yeah, I mean, Lord Gresham, also, like, everybody in that kind of line of work knows what to expense and what not to expense. I won't say who did this, but somebody was like, at another PAX, a lot of these happen around PAX, because that's when you end up eating out with your friends and spending too much money because you're at a convention. I had a friend of mine was like, hey, let's eat here. And we got there, and we realized we were eating at the steakhouse across the street from the convention center that has no sign, that is very expensive. And he was like, okay, so this is outside the budget. I'm gonna pay for this because this is too expensive. But we already sat down and we had to wait. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna order a few different drinks to make it seem like there were more people than just us, and we shared plates of food. So we're gonna do that. And he was like, and you can't tell my boss about this, who I knew. And I didn't. And I have not named this person, but they are a credit to humanity, because I did eat a very good steak at PAX that year. Also, that was a PAX West as well. And I ate a very good steak, and we just pretended like there were a lot of us because we ordered several different beverages. It worked out very well. But yeah, I'm good at like recognizing that kind of thing because, like, uh, Lord Crashington, that particular one was not in the Lang zone, but I can say I don't remember if he's the one who paid for it or not, but Lang was there for that dinner where I had some indie people being like, where are we? What is this? Lang was definitely at that table. I can't remember if he paid or if somebody else paid. And I will say that only because the other person doesn't work for the company he did at the time, but Lang obviously still runs his own business. But yeah, I don't remember who paid for that night. But I'm good at like that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean, like it helps when you're your own boss. That does help. But also, if you're running a booth, or there's a difference between Dave Lang running a booth and Dave Lang just there to like hang out with his friends and eventually go back to his hotel room and listen to rap music and talk shit about it with Jeff. Like, there's a difference between that, Dave Lang, and then the like, oh, we got a booth and there are a lot of people and I gotta challenge people to dive kick money, not money, but like prize games, and do this. Like, those are different Langs. I do like Dave has kind of fit into the, I go to PAX to see a couple people to do and do panels, and then he's got his Let's Rank It panel, which is like the weirdest. Lang has a panel, and I have come, when I am on that, I will promote his video games because he doesn't mention them, other than I think Dive Kick might be on the list, and I think that's the only time it's ever been mentioned, anything that he does like as his job. And I find that very funny that he's just like, yeah, no, whatever. Oh, yeah. Check out our games. I've always found that very humorous. Okay, so then it's going to go like this. We're almost done with these shoulders that are claws. Wait, no, how does this go? Wait. No, it goes like this. Okay. Yeah, it's got to go like this because, yeah, eventually these become claws. These shoulders move on to the arms and become claws, and it's so weird. So I got to get these right. This is the shoulder version, claw version. So got to put those together. The one time I went to Dave's panel, it was cool. Yeah, that panel is very fun. But anyway, that just goes to the larger point that like I'm pretty good at figuring out when I need to say like, hey, I can't eat at this place. I can't do this. I went out to a wedding in San Francisco, and somebody that I knew from convention stuff and hang out was like, hey, I want to take you to a dim sum place. And this person, at one point in his life, would go on to be a high up in the marketing group, or like management group of Discord. He doesn't work at Discord now, but he basically got brought in to work at Discord. This particular person has money. I hear that they like it when people call it Frisco. Yeah, sure. Money. And so he was like, I want to take you to this dim sum place. Not a lot of people know about it. You really do need to know the language, but I'll order. Dim sum, a bunch of people on carts walk around, and you just get stuff for the table. Nobody knows how much it costs until the end. It's a whole thing. But he's like, oh, it's in the shopping plaza. It's kind of, out of the way. It's great. It's excellent. You're going to love it. And I was like, cool. Hey, friend, just want to check in on this. How pricey is this? And I asked in advance how expensive it is, because it was going to be the day before I came back to New York. So it was the end of my trip. And he was like, oh, I've got it. And I was like, great. No, I don't need to worry about it. But like, that was me like the day before managing expectations, because he was like, oh, it's very pricey. Then I would have been like, cool, I don't think I can do that. How about we find a hole in the wall Mexican place, because we are in San Francisco, and there are incredibly great Mexican restaurants. We can just find something like that. But instead he was like, no, I'll take you to this cool place. And it was fucking good. It was very, very good. But I would not have been able to go otherwise without his helping me. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to find a place, but I certainly wouldn't have been able to afford the place. I gotten very good at that now. I can sniff that stuff out. Because also, like, nobody wants to talk about money. Like, nobody, especially if you, the viewer right now, are in a position where you don't really have a lot of it, but you also, like, unfortunately, because this is a capitalist society, you are swept up in the feelings about how you are lesser than because of your financial situation. You've internalized that, and it sucks, and I understand. Or you're with people that have fucking money, and it's tough. Yeah, like, earlier, Steve was talking about growing up in a rich town and being broke, and that can weigh on you. So I understand that sometimes you don't want to, like, bring that shit up, but I will say, in my personal experience, your friend Pat will tell you that it does fucking feel better to just be, like, straightforward with people and be like, hey, what if we went somewhere else? Like, if you have your hearts on it, I understand. It's just, this has been a rough year, whatever, life, month, whatever you want to say. And I don't think I can swing that place because it is very expensive. Like, that kind of thing. And you just say that shit. Like, hey, what if we didn't do that? And I think, like, get in the habit of practice being okay with that and saying your wants and your needs. It will benefit you greatly in the long run. Yeah, you don't want to walk into a situation. Also, here's the deal. I can't say that your friends will always be fucking cool, because we're all human and sometimes we're just not cool. But I would hope that your friends, if they, like, don't get tired of you being poor or struggling or just being, like, or whatever, like, we're talking about money, but there are other reasons to not want to be in a place. Like, it's too loud and I just can't hear anybody, or it's so crowded and I'm still fucking feeling weird about that, or, like, somebody I hate works there and so I don't want to go, like, whatever. Like, when you start saying how you feel and expressing yourself to those around you about how you feel about things, I hope that you will find that you end up in a situation where people listen to you and it doesn't feel bad to tell people how you feel about the situation you're in, and you could start voicing your opinions on things and your, or your displeasure on things, and it will feel natural, and it will start to feel like, this is, like, what's best for me, because, like, look, I've talked about that. I must have talked about this on stream, mentioned it probably flippantly, but I do have codependent tendencies. Despite being an asexual being, a demisexual, but still on the asexual spectrum, despite being somebody that it takes a whole lot for me to be interested in someone at all in any way, shape, or form, I also want to please my friends and the people I care about. And I am a people pleaser, and I need to be needed. So it's hard it took a long time and a lot of therapy and growth as a human for me to start telling people when I was unhappy. Also, I'm a pretty good actor, but I can't really pretend when I'm pretend to be happy in a situation where I am not. So it'd just be a lot of my friends, like, knew that I was unhappy with what was going on, but also didn't want to say anything, and that's just shitty, and that's not a fun way to live. So it just, like, would bum out my friends because I would be, like, clearly unhappy, but not willing to say anything. And so I got better at fucking saying shit. All right, we got to talk about some wrestling, because there's some wrestling shit. Like, we'll do some light wrestle talk, and then we'll get into some heavier wrestle talk. The light wrestle talk is, let's talk about Fyter Fest coming up. Fyter Fest is a 2-week thing for AEW. Is it a reference to the Fire Festival? Yes. Should that still be a reference that is made in the year 2022? I don't particularly think so, but whatever. On week 2 of Fyter Fest on AEW Dynamite, Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho are going to battle out in a barbed wire death match with the other members of the Jericho Appreciation Society suspended above the ring in a shark tank, because that will coincide with Shark Week. That's on July 20th. So I'm going to say that again so that you properly can understand what I just fucking said here. Eddie Kingston, it's named based on the CEO event they did. Yes, Fyter Fest was a like CEO video game fighting tournament thing that tied in AEW tied in with it. So it's not like they came up with a name, but it's still a bad name. It still doesn't work for me. Anyway, again, Eddie Kingston, the realest man in wrestling. He's just believable. Chris Jericho, a legend, are going to wrestle. They've had a feud for quite some time. It's gone on too long, in my opinion, and it needs to wrap up. And I can't imagine that it will continue after this, because I have to believe that once you have a barbed wire death match with people suspended in a shark tank, or a shark cage, not a shark tank, a shark cage, got to be correct on that, a shark cage, that you can't go anywhere from there, and that has to be it. That you can't build off of that. So this has got to be it. Yes, Stevie, that is true. Yes, saw the image on Twitter without having seen Rampage and just can't believe it's not a shit post. No, it's real. Eddie Kingston was like, "Fight me, Chris. Fight me. I want there to be barbed wire everywhere. I'm going to taste your blood." He keeps talking about tasting Jericho's blood and how their last match at Blood and Guts, he didn't make Jericho bleed, and that made him a liar. Eddie doesn't want to be a liar anymore, so he needs to make Jericho bleed, which is, it's twisted logic, but it is logic, and I do appreciate it. So he's gonna make Jericho bleed vis-a-vis in a barbed wire match. And then Tony Khan was like, and to make sure no one interferes, everyone else on the team will be in a shark cage, because it's Shark Week. So they got to do some kind of tie-in, because Discovery and TNT, and it's just nonsense in a way that I love and appreciate. I'm thrilled by this. You have no idea. Now, do I like blood in my wrestling? No. I don't like accidental blood. I don't like on purpose blood. Very much do not like blood. I was born in 1980, which means I had 80s wrestling of the superheroes and the like nothing goes wrong until it does stuff. And I didn't watch the territories until the 90s and towards the tail end of the territories. And I was in Connecticut, and so I saw a lot of New York wrestling and New Jersey wrestling and Philadelphia wrestling, and I've seen enough blood in person to last a lifetime. But do I love the idea of 5 men suspended in a cage above the ring? Yes. Also, one of the reasons why this is escalated is because Ruby Riot, Ruby Soho, formerly Ruby Riot, formerly Heidi Lovelace, has a long, storied, great history with Eddie Kingston. She is one of the people that Eddie Kingston loves. Eddie Kingston likes Jon Moxley, and Ruby Ruby Soho, I should say, and then tolerates a lot of other people. Oh, and he likes Santana and Ortiz. And one of the either Fenix, one of the Lucha Brothers, I can't remember which one, but he loves one of the Lucha Brothers, and for some reason doesn't like one of the other ones, and would always make that a point, and it's weird. Oh yes, he does love Homicide, but in AEW, he likes very few people in AEW, and one of the people he really likes is Ruby, and because Ruby got involved in the Blood and Guts match, they slammed Jericho Appreciation Society slammed her arm into a car door, closed the car door on it, and that has pushed Eddie Kingston into a as yet unseen darker place that he already lives in.
Again, as I said, realest man in wrestling, the most believable man in all of this nonsense. All right, we finished a whole goddamn arm. Let's finish the other arm, but this kit is just remarkable. But eventually, what's going to happen is this is going to go like something like this, and then it's claws. Like, I think this is how it works. There might be something else, but this is basically what happens here is Zagok arms come down, which is wild. Very cool and weird. But yeah, anyway, Eddie Kingston is going to really... Like, Eddie... I keep saying this, but like Eddie has to win this, and then they have to move on. Like Jericho has his Appreciation Society. They're probably going to keep clashing with the Blackpool Combat Club, I imagine. I could also see Jericho going after Moxley for the title, something like that. But like this needs to be done. This has gone on too long. It's good, but I need it to be over. In my opinion, I think it needs to just wrap up here. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, they had to move on after the Blood and Guts match. Yes, and Stevie, and they didn't. Because it would have been, in my opinion, simple enough to just be like, oh yeah, Eddie's mad because like he didn't get the win in that match. But he's done with Jericho, and they're moving on. But he's because he's had beef with Claudio for a very long time. Also, I don't think he seemingly does not enjoy Antonio at all. Just seems to really hate Big Tony. So, like, legitimately hate him. So, like, I don't know if that program's going to be good or not, but I do think that program does need to happen. Supposedly, Stevie, this was him being in the match wasn't supposed to happen. That's Bryan Danielson being injured, but supposedly, like Cesaro was picked to come in, like he was scheduled to be a guy in the company that was coming in, and then it just like worked out very well timing wise. But supposedly that was in the plans. But yes, him being there definitely throws some stuff off. Because also you have to imagine eventually we will see Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston, because Eddie did pour gasoline on him. And you don't just like forget about that maybe in WWE you forget about that because people have Xavier Woods does a very good job of being like, yeah, like he hasn't forgotten that Kevin Owens once turned on him and Kofi. Like he still remembers that, and he'll like bring it up even though Kevin Owens is supposed to be a face. Like Xavier Woods has a good memory in wrestling and like makes it a point to have that memory. But in AEW, everybody remembers shit. They will remember that, which I like. I like that they remember things. I think that's important in wrestling. So like eventually Bryan Danielson is going to have some sort of word with Eddie Kingston. Eddie versus BD Cesaro would have been great matches. Yes. I mean, it's
it's the unfinished story. Eddie Kingston lost. He lost to Claudio. He lost the big match. It was like a no contest. Then he lost. And that's it. Because then Claudio goes to WWE. And Eddie didn't get his win back. And Eddie should have gotten his win back. And it's a beautiful Eddie Kingston story. Because this is like, Cesaro is like a beloved, character, Claudio is a beloved character that for some reason Eddie Kingston's character, who is just like, nope, there's something about this guy. I don't like this guy. Nobody else can see it, but I can see it. Something's up. I don't like it. And everyone's just like, yeah, all right, Eddie's just being Eddie. And he's like, ah. And then Claudio becomes part of this big heel faction, and it's this whole thing, and it's ongoing stories, and it's a lot. And then he's like, he was the one that was right. But he never got that. This is Chikara stuff, yes. This is when I became... This period is when I got... Because this is when there's, wrestling is fun, and there's all these different, I can't get into all of the stuff with that company, but they did some shenanigans with time. There was time travel, and there was company ownership issues where they ran fake ones, where they ran shows under a different name. I knew all the I knew all of the fun comedy nerd indie guys like Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy comes out to assault the theme for Wet Hot American Summer. There's a good reason for that. I knew all the comedy nerds that were Chikara guys and girls. I didn't know the hard hitters. Eddie Kingston never got invited to do a bit at UCB when I was in charge of the comedic wrestling stuff that happened there. I would have loved to have Eddie Kingston there, but I wasn't going to... I'm never going to ask Eddie Kingston to do anything for free. Are you fucking kidding me? But the Ants? Yeah, I'll ask Silver Ant and Fire Ant if they want to compete for tag team gold in UCBW. And, they're going to lose to the grandmas, who are 20-somethings women dressed up like grandmas. They're going to lose to those girls. And it's very fucking funny. Bryce Remberg is going to do a Hurricane Rana during the Chikara invasion because Bryce is mad at Blaster McMassive. Sure, we'll book that, no problem. Drew Gulak is supposed to wrestle as a someone else, but didn't bring his gear, but has his Drew Gulak gear, so we're just booking him as Drew Gulak, and that's fine. Sure. Yes. Oh, yes. Well, Ian knows. And he is also hugely responsible for a lot of that happening as somebody that was had his foot in both doors even more than me. Because I didn't have people's phone numbers. So, I mean, as far as I know, actually, yeah, Ian, is Kaiju still around? I assume so. I think they had a show this year, right? Obviously, things are weird because, indie wrestling. So, yeah, we were still around. Great. Yes. Ian knows. Yes. Okay, we're done with the arms. But yeah, there was never a point where myself or Charlie or Zach from UCBW, there's never a point where we asked about Eddie Kingston. We were never going to ask about Eddie Kingston for any of our stuff. Because why would we do that? I wasn't going to be able to pay Eddie Kingston. No. Look, I think you'd be surprised about some hard-ass wrestlers and do they like comedy. I think William Regal never shutting up about British stand-ups that he loves helps a lot for people to understand that violent wrestlers can love comedy. But like, to me, it would have been disrespectful to be like, hey, Eddie, we're doing this thing. That was not somebody that I would have approached, because even if he got it, and I think he would have got it, and yeah, I think Eddie would have gotten it and appreciated and enjoyed what it was, but it didn't feel like Eddie wasn't the right wrestler for that bit, right? Because even like Blaster McMassive, this like giant person, Chuck Taylor as a heel, the Kentucky Gentleman, Chuck Taylor as a heel, like those bits, those wrestlers, we could understand why they would be there, and they could like have fun with it. Just saying, Eddie is good friends with a giant cartoon wrestling dragon. I know. Yes, Blaster, but he's also a giant man. That like it worked. Like you can have those big people come in and do stuff, those larger than life people, and it would work with our shenanigans. But like Eddie's the realest man in the room, and like Eddie is so real that it would have made what we did not work anymore. It's hard to suspend your disbelief on good nonsense, like a fisherman being our world champion. Just a fisherman. He's just a fisherman. Just Gordon's fisherman. To me, that doesn't work as well when you have Eddie fucking Kingston, when you have the Mad King come in. Like, that to me doesn't work. Like, there were other people in Chikara that it also wouldn't have worked because, like, they were just... Like, Drew Gulak is such an incredible wrestler that Drew Gulak... I didn't want to book Drew Gulak. I wanted to book Redacted and not Drew Gulak. Because to me, Drew Gulak is just a fucking professional wrestler. And he's funny as hell. Don't get me wrong. But to me, he was too much of a real wrestler for our nonsense. If I'm a wrestler, you can't have a good wrestler like Drew Gulak in there and then believe that I'm a comedy wrestler that won every title available except for the Wackadoo. No, my towel won the Wackadoo title. I never won the Wackadoo title. But yes, Big Show loves Destiny. He loves the game's Destiny. And 1 and 2. Big old Destiny nerd. It's a weird thing. But anyway, that's way too deep about very specific things about wrestling that I was not prepared to be talking about tonight. But that's what happens on these streams, which is great. Because sometimes I can just talk about my theories on, like, can I book this wrestler to come do, like, I can have the Los Ice Creams, no problem. But we shouldn't ask, like no, we can't. Like, oh no, they'll have fun. Like, oh, we could ask Kimberly, that would be great. But like, oh yeah, no, we can't ask these like hard ass wrestlers that are coming through, because like that's just not gonna vibe with us. Yes. But also, we did have Orange Cassidy, because Orange Cassidy works at any comedic wrestling show in the world. He also works on any indie show in the world. That's not. He's the funny guy. Like, here's what I will say. The wrestler, the wrestler that should have... We'll switch this because we're going to do a pause for the cause in a moment. But I'll just say, the wrestler that is a wrestler working anywhere in the world she wants to right now, that most fits the vibe that the Comedy Wrestling League, which was high on comedy, low on wrestling, that I ran, is Maki Ito. It is my opinion that Maki Ito's bit would work so well in UCBW that I'm furious that we never had a Fallen Idol character. why didn't we book a fallen idol character in it used to be W? A character like a girl that like got kicked out of being an idol and had to settle for wrestling. That also like, and her sub game of just using swears is it's frustrating because it's such a good bit that we should have done and we didn't. We never had a character sing their own theme song and then get attacked while they were singing their own theme song, and it's infuriating that we never did that. Ugh. But we also had Orange Cassidy fight Bloody Mary, a woman always on her period, who was also the heart and soul of UCBW and one of the biggest success stories of like, this is a really silly gimmick that's a one-off. Wait, Eileen is the most wonderful person I know, and the crowd is like, people demanded that we book her again. People I didn't know were like, when's Bloody Mary coming back? And we were like, had to book her. And then we had her face Orange Cassidy in one of our, and get kicked in the face, not actually comedy kicked in the face, by Dolph Ziggler. For real. The real legitimately Dolph Ziggler, who loves comedy so goddamn much that while the same year he was world champion and booked at SummerSlam, he came and did our show the night before. That was his last run as world champion, his weird run as world champion. And he still came and did I was like, hey, you're probably too busy this year, right? And he was like, no, I'll do it. What do you need? Yes, Dana Brooke would hang out because of Dolph when they were hanging out. And they were a package deal, and she loved the spooky skeletons. Our wrestling tag team, which was just two dudes dressed up like skeletons. That's it. Didn't need to be anything more than that. And we would always say, too spooky. This is too spooky. Like the announcers were terrified of them, but the audience loved them. I can't keep talking about UCBW. I will, and I can't. I have to do my pause. I have to do my ad reads, which is not that. Yes, of course, Ian, they were actually skeletons. They were always going to be actual skeletons. Don't worry about it. Hi, I'm Pat Baer, as if it wasn't evident. And this is the part of the stream where I'm going to talk to you about ways you can support what I do here. All of the things I'm about to tell you about are optional. You don't have to do any of these things. I would love it if you did, but you don't have to. These are all just things you could do to support what I do here, because I build model kits 3 times a week, and I play games or have a talk show segment on Wednesdays, and I don't have sponsors or anything like that, and I look towards you that if you would like to, you can support what I do. If you're currently a subscriber, you can throw the Bear Cave, the Lego, the Scythe. If you're tier 2, like Aristofan, you can throw the blue emote in the chat. Let the people know. Becoming a subscriber, you get these very cool emotes. You don't see ads during the stream. Occasionally I never put subscriber only chat in, but maybe someday I'll have to. I hope I never have to do that. But anyway, subscribing is the easiest way to support what I do, either through Cash Money or through using your Prime Gaming token. We've had 2 people use their Prime tonight, which is rad, and we did have somebody subscribe as well with we had a Prime and a regular subscription, which is great. And thank you very much to the folks that subscribe. You could gift sub to somebody in the community. Aristofan has gifted 5 subs this month, in addition to the other 95 subs that Aristofan has given over the time that I've been a streamer. So you can gift a sub to somebody in the community anonymously or get credit for it. Bits and coins are also always appreciated if you got some spare bits. And then if you're like, Pat, I like this, but I don't want to give money through Twitch. I'm trying to not do that. I understand. What about Patreon? I got a Patreon. There's a $1, a $3, a $5, and a $10 tier. Different rewards for the different tiers. Take a look over at my Patreon. See what I've got. See the rewards. See my goals that I'm looking to do. Trying to hit $150 a month over there. I'm at just over 100, so I'd love to get more than that. Let's see. Also, I got a YouTube channel. Now, subscribing to YouTube is, of course, free, and I would love it if you did that. But you could also, when you're there, think about maybe becoming a member. $2 a month, and you get a video. My Wednesday videos, you get those on Tuesday. It's a day early. Also, AdSense goes in. AdSense. So watching my videos also helps me with that. Patreon, Twitch, everything I raise from that, and also direct donations, all goes into a fund. I take money out of that fund and I buy model kits with that. This Aesculapius, the kit I am currently working on, this beautiful model kit. I don't get to build this without your generous support. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, the coffee and PayPal and Stream Elements and all that. Now, I've got a backlog of model kits that I'm happy to build. I'm looking forward to building them. But the way to jump the queue, where I'll build something else that's not in my backlog, is to buy something off my Amazon wish list. I'll shoot a YouTube video dedicated to the thing, and then it jumps the queue, and I build it. I've got a bunch of stuff on this list. I've got Lego sets and model kits, and there's a Pokemon kit in there. There's some cool, very cool Lego sets that are inexpensive. Some fairly, actually reasonably priced model kits, and then also some kits that are not reasonably priced. Like, why is this $49? Why is the Star Build Strike Gundam? Why is that so much money? I don't know, but it is. They're overpriced. And also some gear at the bottom. You could buy something there. It'll come to me in the mail. You can leave a note, or you can be anonymous if you want. And it'll jump the queue, and I'll build it ahead of time. That is my promise to you, because it's the least I could do. We'll get back to building in just a minute. I got a couple more things to just talk about here. So that's the wish list. Alternatively to that, I have a Throne wish list. It's a more curated list, but Throne is a cool company, and I want to support them. So you can buy something there. No one has ever bought anything from me off my Throne wish list. So if you want to be the very first person to do that, you could. They really, really go out of their way to protect people, especially like VTubers or folks that do adult content that maybe don't want their name or like even their state out there. They do very comprehensive work to protect those people's identities. So even though I'm out there with my own goddamn name, other people aren't. So I respect Throne quite a bit for that. USA Gundam Store, you can buy a gift card there, then send me a DM with a gift card code. That is just another way to support me. For free, if you want to spend no money and support me, join my Discord. I post build photos at the end of every stream. People post stuff they're working on. It's a nice little community. It is a relaxed Discord, and you're welcome to hang out there. Also, you can promote yourself there. I promote myself. All right, we did all that. We're going to talk about, a couple video links for you to check out. So we are currently in the summer anime season. It's new to the anime season. There are still a couple shows that haven't debuted yet. But if you want to know what happened last season, and you also want a preview of what's going on this season, you can check out Pat Bear's Anime Club. I had recorded this live in front of a Twitch audience, and now I am put that up on my YouTube. It's 2 hours. Most of it is me talking about the previous season, because I knew a lot about what happened there. And then the last 40 minutes is talking about this current season and the shows. And me being like, I actually might watch this. Like a couple shows I wasn't really keen on until I read the descriptions while I was doing that. Well, thank you very much for joining the Patreon. I appreciate that. That rules. Thank you very much for that. And then Do You Remembaer is an ongoing video series where every week I read a Wikipedia article and do my best to remember everything I read in that article, and then I shoot a video immediately afterwards talking about that. And you can go to the actual Wikipedia website and the link in the show description and tell me what I got right and what I got wrong and what I forgot. And this video is one of my favorites that I've done. I've been doing this every Wednesday since January this year. It is about the animated movie Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach, which is an anime from 1986, years before the live action. It's an isekai. Mario and Luigi go into a video game world to rescue Princess Peach. It's an isekai from 1986. It's the first movie based on a video game, and one of, if not the first examples of an isekai where it's a video game.
Yes. Also, Lord Christian mentions that movie might be on archive.org. It is. There's one of the reasons I'm talking about it is because I found out that this year a group put out a fan sub. It's always been fan sub because it was never available outside of Japan. They put out a 4K restoration. Someone got a 16 millimeter print of this animated film and restored it and cleaned it. Like literally, people cleaned the film, and that's on YouTube. And the link is in the show description of the link I just put out there, so you can just watch it if you want. I haven't watched it again because I remember enjoying it with my friends in high school, and I don't need to watch it again. But it is cool that it exists and that someone painstakingly restored it. But also, Stevie, thank you very much for that Patreon support. I appreciate that. Like there's an extended version of the other. Yes. Archive.org has like the live action one and some more from that. But anyway, that's just some stuff I want to talk about. I am going to start working on feet of this kit because this kit, it does have feet. And it has feet. And also we have to talk about some, we don't have to, but I want to talk about some anime. So we'll do that. But before we do that, because we're going to get back in the building in just a moment. And then I want to, say, okay, yeah, great. Just checking this out here. I am going to have to drink a little water, dramatically transition and have some water. So here we go. I have a whole page on my Stream Deck that is just like 5 different sound cues. Oops, yeah. I never have a good reason to use this one, but I do have it because every once in a while you need this. Every once in a while you do need a toilet flush sound effect. It's usually when one dude, Ironhide the Fourth, comes in, and every once in a while Ironhide shows up and tells a very bad joke on purpose. It's purposely bad, and then I give him the toilet flush. But I don't do that often. You gotta deserve that, and most people don't. Anyway, we're done with the top half of this kit. So now it's time to build. I mean, there's probably a backpack, but there is. I mean, I know there's a backpack because then it becomes the head of the Sagak cover. But we got to build some feet here. So now we're going to build some feet. So let's get that going. And while I do that, I'm also going to talk to you about episode 2 of Phantom of the Idol, which is on High Dive, and episode 1 of Black Summoner, which are great shows that I want to tell you about. The premise of Phantom of the Idol, this is episode 2 of this particular show, is it's a weird premise, but stick with me. Yuya is an idol. He didn't get into it because he wanted to make people happy, or he wanted to sing and dance for a living, or that he loves the idea of becoming an idol. He's not doing it for the love. He's doing it because someone told him, oh, you should be an idol. You'll make a lot of money. Because his philosophy is, and we get this philosophy again in this episode, is get it done as fast and easy as possible. So he memorizes things because that's easier than having to like constantly study things. Like it's just easier to memorize those things. So he'll do that. That is his modus operandi. Anyway, he's probably going to get fired at some point because he doesn't really care about the fans, and and it's like tiring, and he's like, this is not what I signed up for. This is actually a lot of hard work, and I don't really want to do this. And then he meets Asahi. And Asahi is a ghost. Episode 1, he meets a ghost. She was 17 and an idol. She was a famous idol that died in a traffic accident. And she did not get isekai'd into a fantasy world. Instead, she's just been a goddamn ghost. And she was like, you know, I never really saw guys perform male idols, so I just happened to check you out. And that seemed really fun, but you don't seem like you really want to do this. And he's like, yeah, I don't. and she accidentally possesses him, and then goes out and performs for him. And then he's like, problem solved. Your unfinished business on Earth is that you want to keep being an idol. That's why you haven't moved on. You have regrets. And I want to stop doing this. So let's pair up, and you can keep possessing me and do it. And that's episode 1, basically. So episode 2 is also one thing to note. He does a really great job. He's like pointing at the audience and really giving it his all. And the audience is shocked because he's not the one that tries hard. Yoshiro is the one that tries hard in this duo. He's the one that can sing and is good looking and whatever, but like doesn't give it an attempt. And so this is weird. And there are like 3 women who we've seen in both episodes, and they're my favorite minor characters of the season. They like the group, but they have come to appreciate the dead-eyed stare of Yuya, who like does not want to be there. And turns out they kind of like that. Like they like the singing, they like the dancing. They really like that he doesn't give a shit, because that's unusual for idols. So turns out they are drawn to that. And they are having a whole fucking tough time dealing with the fact that suddenly possessed Yuya is trying hard. Turns out they don't dislike it, like they don't hate it, but they are not used to it. Oop, we did have, okay, it looks like some gifted subs from last month have expired, so I'm going to update this, because we are now 37 out of 40. The goal is 40. Legitimately, 40 a month is kind of where I need to be at to get paid every month. So if you want to become a subscriber, now is a great time to do that. You want to gift a sub to somebody in the community, now is a great time to do that. No pressure, but also kind of need to get that at 40 to make sure I get paid every month so that I can keep buying model kits and such. Thank you. But anyway, keep talking about this weird anime. So they're kind of dealing with that fact. So that's like episode 1. This one is they've been doing lessons, and Asahi has been taking over his body while he does the lessons. So she's learning the moves. But at one point, he ends up doing the lesson, and like she learns, oh, he's actually better at the dancing than I am, because he's used to his body and he can move. And she's now in like a big man's body when she's possessing him, and can't really do anything. She can't do it as well. So she's like, oh, that's strange. So the night of their next performance, she's like, oh, it's weird. I can't possess you. I'm sorry. You'll have to do the performance. And he's just like, all right, I guess I'm going to get fired because the boss is here, the manager's here, and, well, this was a good run, but all right. And then he gets out there, and there are a lot more people, and a bunch of them have signs for him. And he's like, I guess I'll try. And he does. And so he and his partner do the dances. And, I should say, the unique performances, the choreography and dancing are CGI. It is not the digital animation of everything else. And that makes a lot of sense, because these are one-off choreographies that are in sync and like just fucking cheaper. And the coloring, the lighting changes because it's like, reds and purples for a stage show. And it's not super jarring. It's not like those kind of action anime where the fantasy anime where like the monsters are CGI and like because they have to move around and whatever, or like the horses are CGI, but then the characters are digital. This is like not that jarring. I'll let it go. Same thing in some episodes of Zombieland Saga. They went CGI because like that's the way this anime is gonna get made, and like I'm just gonna accept it even if I don't love that, because like that's how you get this show. So I need A13. Okay, 2, 3. 3 is here. Great.
Okay. Um. Anyway, afterwards, he's like, "Oh, that was a lot," and she's like, "Hey, I'm sorry that I lied. I've just been thinking a lot. I've enjoyed, possessing you and dancing and fulfilling my dream, but also like I'm robbing you of that. I want you to be a great idol, and I want you to keep pushing yourself, and I can't do that if I'm, taking over. And like, thanks for showing me this." And then she starts like, again, episode 2. The show where the premise is that the main character is possessed by the other main character. And towards the end of episode 2, our girl is like, "Yep, I think that's it." And she starts like literally fading away. And he's like, no, I want to get to the top. And I can't do that without you. I can't become the best idol in the world if you're not here helping me. So stay. Which is like the narrator, who has not shown up in episode 2 but was there in episode 1, is basically like, yeah, Yuya's kind of a dirtbag. And he is, because like she was about to pass on and he's like, "Don't leave, I need your help," because he doesn't want to do this alone, because then he's going to lose his job. But he does in this episode, he does beg a ghost not to cross over so that she can still keep possessing him for concerts so he can be a successful idol. This might be the weirdest premise of any show I'm watching this season, and I really like it. Again, this is on High Dive. This season I am watching, let's see, 1, 2. I am watching 3 shows in High Dive so far this season. And like, worth it, because it's just so weird in a way that I really, really like. And the very end of the episode, we check back in with the girls that really like Yuya, and they are overwhelmed by his performance that day. Just had to take so bad you want to go to sleep moment. Saw a tweet saying Luffy's Red Rock is now definitely more iconic than the Kamehameha. I mean, that is a take so bad you want to go to sleep. Yeah. Because, like, to you, sure. To the world, nah. Let me know when other anime start making Red Rock references. Because, like, look, I'm not saying there aren't One Piece references in other anime. But, like, last year there were multiple anime that made, like, Kamehameha references. Like, that time I got reincarnated as slime has a bit in it of the Kamehameha. Like, it's just one of those things where, like, to you, sure. Ash and Pikachu didn't do a father-son Red Rock. Yeah, that's just like one of those things where you're just like, that's just, it's one of those things where it's like, either this is outrage clicks, this is somebody trying to like get whatever, or it's someone who just like didn't really connect with Dragon Ball but does really like One Piece. Also, a thing about One Piece fans is that it's a cultural phenomenon, incredible manga and anime, but because of the 4Kids dub being so terrible, there's a generation of anime fans that thinks it sucks, and that really hurts the feelings of One Piece fans. That there's like a whole generation of people that were just like, "Oh yeah, that's not a good anime," because they watched a bad dub of it. One Piece is definitely more popular. DBZ's cultural touchstone. Yeah, it's more popular right now. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. I do, in my opinion, One Piece is more popular than Dragon Ball Super right now. That when Dragon Ball Super comes back, it'll be big, but it won't pull in the same numbers that One Piece is pulling. But that's not saying that, like, but like culturally, Dragon Ball Z is like a touchstone. Early One Piece is not great to look at. Current One Piece, Wano era One Piece is gorgeous. this last year and a half to 2 years of One Piece is the most beautiful it's ever looked in the anime. It's gorgeous. But early One Piece is tough to look at. But yeah. Yeah, like it's one of those things where you're just like, those arguments comparing anime is always weird to me because it should just be, hey, here's an anime I like. Like when I tell you about an anime, like I'm going to tell you about Black Summoner, a new show that's on Crunchyroll that I watched the first episode of today. I'm going to tell you about Black Summoner because I liked it, and I want you to know that if you are looking for an isekai that seems like an isekai that is not wasting anyone's time and is pretty fun, you might like Black Summoner. If the thing you kind of feel weird about is the kind of isekai where like the main character is fucking definitely bummed that they got isekai'd and they have a lot of regrets, and you don't like that kind of isekai, this might be the isekai for you. Because our main character literally cannot remember anything that happened, but he knows he died, and he knows he got reborn into a new body in this world, and that's it. We'll get into it, but like, I'm going to tell you about that because I thought it was a pretty interesting thing. I like the manga of this, the manga version of this, and maybe you'll like it, maybe you want to see it. But like, and then also like, y'all know, Attack on Titan, not my thing. When Attack on Titan revealed what kind of show it actually was, when it went from being humanity versus this kind of monster force, the last bastion of humanity, and it became, what if multiple people who are also humans could become those monsters? And then it became monster versus monster and man versus monster, but also monster versus monster, but also monster versus man. Different monster versus man. I was like, I'm out. But a lot of people are like, I'm in. And this is my personality. And great. Enjoy that shit. Last season, I didn't like Birdie Wing, a show that for some folks was the best show of the season, and one of the only things they liked this last season, which to me is like, I have a friend that liked Birdie Wing and didn't like Spy Family, and I don't know quite how to parse that, except that people like different things and it's okay. Now, if you tell me that Harem in Another World is your favorite anime this season, I'm going to give you a side eye. It's okay that you like the horny isekai, that you like the really horny isekai. Like if that's your thing, then that's your thing. The pretty much softcore pornography isekai is your favorite show of the season. Fine, enjoy that show. Enjoy one of two isekai I'm not watching this season because the other one I can't watch it because it's on Netflix and I don't have Netflix right now. But I would be watching that one. I would be watching Isekai Uncle if I could, but I can't, so I won't. Yeah, Lord Crashing It. I mean, the manga will be done in a couple years, but it's going to be a long time before the anime is done. It's going to be a long time. We're now ready for the arc before the last arc, though. So, but also Wano just took forever. So who knows? Maybe the last arc will be short. I don't know. He's not king of all the pirates yet, so Luffy still has stuff to do, and Blackbeard's got to die. So we got more work to do. Anyway, we're going to build most of this leg at the same time, which is great because we finished the feetsies. But now I want to tell you about Black Summoner. That's what I actually want to tell you about. Black Summoner. So, Kelvin is the name of our main character. There's his own voiceover happens to let us know some stuff about what's going on with Kelvin. I'll give you the gist of it. Kelvin is dead. He died. He does not remember anything about what happened to him other than he knows he died because he has been resurrected. he knows he met the goddess of reincarnation because a different god accidentally killed him.
So he accidentally died, and as a penance for it, this god brought him to what is her name? Her name is Melfina, the goddess of reincarnation, and he was going to reincarnate on this fantasy world because it seems like he was a battle junkie, like he was a gamer and knew like what he liked, and he was psyched about it. So he knew what skills he wanted, and he couldn't get all the skills that he wanted, so he made a deal. He gave up all his memories in order to get more skills. And I will tell you some of these skills. Because, there's a magical AI that will help him. And that magical AI turns out to be Melfina because he's a summoner, black summoner. And the thing that he wanted more than anything was he wanted to form a contract with the goddess of reincarnation because he fell in love with her immediately. Now, he can't see her yet. She is now just like a voice, basically, which I love this explanation. She's like, yeah, you know what? I haven't had a vacation in a really long time. So I said yes, because you were professing how much you loved me. And so I made a deal with you to be your summon because I feel like it'll just be a vacation while you're alive. Because obviously she's like, yeah, I'll definitely outlive you. Which is a weird justification for why that's happening, but funny. What did I write down? Oh, yeah. So, because he gave up his memories, here are the ability. He's an overpowered main character. He's level 1, but he is an S-ranked summoner. And we find out later he is the first ever and the only living S-ranked summoner. He has double growth rate, double skill points, appraising eye, and experience share. Appraising eye is just at this point like, imagine a main character in an isekai that doesn't have that. Like it's hard to imagine that, because it's just like so beneficial to characters. But anyway, an experience share makes sense because he's gonna capture creatures, and summon them, and then those summons. He can, share experience with, and that's really good. He doesn't have the magic points. He doesn't have the MP or the experience in order to properly summon Melfina. So he's like, I can't do that. Okay. So right now she's just like a knowledgeable voice in his head. So he joins the guild. He hides who he is because there are only so many summoners, and he kind of wants to have a low profile, especially until he can get better because he's only level 1. But he gets a mission. He's going to go kill some slimes, and he's going to try to make a contract with a slime. So we get a whole thing there. This slime is just like a blob. I should say the slimes are digital. They are not computer generated, and that fucking rules. I am so psyched about that shit. I am so psyched to have computer generated slimes because that's just awesome. Or not computer generated, having digital slimes. That's so great. Anyway, he manages to hurt and then capture a slime and makes a contract with them, and he names this slime Clotho. And then Clotho comes out as a summon bigger than he was before, or big than they were before, and now has a personality. And has like eyes and a mouth, kind of like the perception of an eyes and a mouth. It is not just a blue blob. There is something to it, and that is because it's now a summon. It's now incredibly strong and way more powerful because there is experience share and all that. Little ins and outs. Anyway, this Clotho rules, and I will crush anyone that is mean to Clotho. Clotho is the best new character of the summer season. Clotho, a number 1, the best, would kill for. Anyway, so yeah, Clotho is super strong because it's a summon. They complete the quest, got enough money to stay in an inn. Weird moment. Kelvin's walking by an alley, getting to this inn, sees, oh, this world has slave trading. And
one of the slaves is a blonde elf. And as someone who has read the manga, that is a character that is important. And then we find out that Kelvin has two things that Kelvin wants to do. Two goals. One, make enough money to be able to afford to live in a house with a bath, because as a Japanese person, he does have the memories of, he doesn't have personal memories, but he does know, I want to have a bath. I know that I like bath. I know that I want a bath. So he's like, okay, that's something I've got to figure out. And also, he wants to grow as a summoner enough to be able to summon Melfina. Because he knows that he declared his love for her, and he doesn't remember doing that. But he's like, I probably had a good reason. So at the very least, that's a goal. So those are his goals. And then we see him and Clotho kind of like fighting over the closing credits, interspersed with cuts of various characters, including the slave that we saw, and then also like somebody in armor, and and just like, hey, these are characters that we will see later, so get ready for it. And that is Black Summoner, an anime I enjoy and would like. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. Yeah, it's a show that I enjoyed. So look, obviously caveats. If you don't like isekai, this is not going to change your mind. This is not so weird and so different that I was like, it's not wholesome. It's not. It's kind of by the book as far as isekai goes. You got a battle junkie dude that doesn't have any memories, and other than really liking to fight and being a little silly, doesn't really have a huge personality right now. He will get it. I can tell you that from knowing the story. But like right now, he doesn't have like a lot going on, and so it might be a hard sell for somebody to like jump in. But if you like these kind of like overpowered main character, and you like having like fun supporting characters involved in it, then like this might be up your alley. This might be something you want to check out. If there is an isekai, honestly, the isekai this season that is the like, this is a different from the normal, is the Devil is a Part-Timer season 2. Like, that's gonna be your weird one, because it's the, what if the demon lord got stuck on Earth and had to manage a McDonald's knockoff? Part 2. Like, that's the weird one. That's the weird premise that if someone asked me like, hey, what's the weirdest premise this season? That's what I would tell them. Like, it's the show about, it's the second season of like the guy who becomes who is the manager at a McDonald's. Like, that's the weird one. If you want a weird isekai this season. The one that's like, it's not super wholesome, but it also isn't like, is different and I think very good, that's out this season as well. It's coming out, I believe it's a Sunday show or a Monday show, but I'll talk about it on Monday, is Parallel World Pharmacy. Parallel World Pharmacy is like, what if an overpowered main character who can do like healing stuff and knows all of these like secret incredible healing stuff also was a doctor, and so he knows about regular medicine, and he knows both those things. That is the premise of Parallel World Pharmacy, and that's pretty good. So I'll be checking that one out. There's a lot. Like I said, Isekai Uncle is a show that I wish wasn't on Netflix so that I could watch it, because I think that I love the premise of, to the world, this guy has been in a coma for all these years, and he wakes up and he's like, can use magic in the real world again, and he's like dealing with the fact that he's lost all his time, and talking to his nephew about the world that he came from, the world he was in, and he had a bad time because he was considered to be very ugly in that world, and just things didn't go well. So it's just him like recounting those stories as he's come back to the real world. And you don't get a lot of isekais where the main character goes back. There, a couple of them do that, but often those either then go back and forth, like Inuyasha, or Dog Days, or I guess in the manga of one that I can't remember the name of, but there's one where the guy becomes so powerful he can then go back to his world and takes like the people with him. But like that does happen, but it's certainly not as common. So the idea that it's like mostly in that world, and there also is a tendency of, there are several manga right now whose premise is, I was in another world and now I'm back in this world, and now I have to adjust. Like a guy who's been missing for a bunch of years and nobody recognizes him, so now he's helping out the daughter of the girl that he had a crush on. That is a premise. And then there are also a couple of manga whose premise is, I was summoned, I did my job, I forcibly got sent back, and then I've gotten summoned again. Oh shit! I'm now in I'm in the same fantasy world or a different fantasy world. That shouldn't have happened. Why am I back? I don't dislike those premises, because I don't dislike those premises because I like fucking weird ass isekai stuff. What are y'all playing right now? We got a little time left. I got a few minutes left. I'm going to try to get this portion of these legs done. But yeah, let me know. What are y'all watching? What are you getting into right now? I'm talking about the anime. I don't have anything else really, because like with my uncle in town, that has kind of been a lot of my free time, is spending time with the four of us doing stuff, which is very nice. So I don't have a lot of like, oh, I've been checking this shit out. Like, and you got to check that stuff out. So I want to hear from you. Last Call BBS is like the only video game that I've been playing, and I'm just like playing some solitaire right now, getting ready for Wednesday stream so that I can play the model kit builder thing in Last Call BBS. I have access, like I have PC Game Pass. I can just like play a bunch of fucking video games. I just haven't done that. I might have time tomorrow to do that, but I want to hear from you folks. What are you playing? What are you watching? Let me know in the chat. What are you getting up to? I haven't had time for either my regular D&D group or the irregular like one-off Fiasco or Lasers and Feelings or D&D crew. My mask, the larger collective people. Like we just haven't had the time. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, this leg has things that I'm like confused about how it goes together, so I'm just trying to figure this out. So does it go like that, or does it go like this? No, maybe it's the other way. I don't know. Sometimes small instructions like this don't do a good job of letting you know how these weird parts are supposed to come together. Okay, that's how it goes. Got it. Here we go. Now I got you people writing some stuff. Lord Crashton says, decided to rewatch Burgle My Bananas, fantastic Giant Bomb series, which seems like the roughest production show GB ever had, and maybe their most ambitious. That is the most ambitious thing in that studio, which should not be considered a studio. That is a very ambitious project in a very small space with gear not suited for what was being done. Like, that whole show should have run off of a Stream Deck and OBS, really. But instead it was run with like equipment that is better than that equipment, but not suited for that job. It's just like a lot. And Dan is an interesting host. I'm like halfway through a Trigun rewatch this last book. Ooh, nice. I never really noticed that there's like a loss of knowledge thing going on. So it's aisles instead of miles and yards instead of yards. Yes, there is a like an over the time loss. Yeah, you're watching a civilization that learned everything from like a couple people like starting to lose that info because it's a degenerating society, not a generating society. Yep, fucked up. Squad on Deep Rock, still on Monster Hunter, and slowly going through the HGs. I have the sticker stuck to the instructions. Ghost Valve, you found that sticker, but it's on your instructions. Sorry about that. That is always a heartbreaker when you're like, why is this not working? Oh, because of me. It's because of me. All right, so this goes like this. It's always fun to be like, am I going to do this right, or am I going to have to take this apart? My part separator, the very specific part separator that I pre-ordered, was supposed to come out in June. It is now coming out supposedly this month. I'm looking forward to getting the official Bandai part separator because it'd be nice to have. Dan not knowing when he didn't need to yell during the show was a great bit. Yeah, Dan still doesn't quite understand when he doesn't need to shout because there's no music underneath him. Dan also likes yelling into a microphone, which is a thing that like is very hard to undo for people. So very specific thing. I'll get to this in a second because I want to say Harold says gaming, largely Fall Guys. TV, I've been catching up on For All Mankind on Apple TV. Still no McFoley. No McFoley. No Cactus Jack in that either, as far as I know. But yeah, so some people treat a microphone like it's not on. Like it's a prop for yelling. And that is like a stage performance thing that some people never unlearn. Because there would be people in my life who were like professional comedians that like it was my job to like make sure that they sounded good on stage, and I would have to turn them down because they were so loud into a microphone. Like I know how to project, but I also know when a microphone's on, I don't have to. Like I'm not projecting right now. I'm not playing to the end of the room. I'm playing to this camera, which is right here. So I don't have to shout for you to hear me because my microphone is loud enough that you can just hear me. But also, I understand that. Occasionally I get loud because I get heated. But that's also why I have a noise gate. It must have been wild to be working nearby their studio and randomly hear Dan yelling or Abby screaming throughout each day. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they recorded like in the late afternoon. And eventually people just got used to it. But yeah, there's just like a lot of noise that came out of that studio. But some folks just never understand. This is a microphone. It's loud so you don't have to be. Like you don't have to be loud because you are on a mic. And some people just never get the memo about that. All right, so this doesn't have a lot of leg lean here. Yeah, this just doesn't rock back that much. It rocks back some, but not a lot. A lot of this knee movement is the top of the knee, not the lower part of the knee. I mean, I'll see if that's just... Yeah, no, that's not... Yeah, it's got to be like this. Yeah, so there's not a lot of movement on the top of this knee here, but there's some at the bottom. All right. I'm going to put a mark with my marker here to know that we are here. Because that's where we're going to go to when we come back. There, the brown will pop. We did we finished the shoulders tonight, which are a lot of work, and then we've got the legs and the feet done here. The legs aren't done. We got the feet done and some of the legs. So this kit is coming along. We're getting a lot done here. I didn't panel line any of the legs because there's a lot of side pieces here, so I'm going to wait until it's all done and then panel line it because there's just so much. This kit just has a lot of shit on it, and it's great. It's very detailed. This is a very detailed high grade. We're going to be working on this for a while. I'm happy about that. Anyway, thank you so much for spending some time with me here. I hope you had a good time on the stream. We are going to raid. That is how we end every stream here. We're going to find somebody in the community that we like, and we're going to go spend a little time with them. Let's see who we're going to go hang out with tonight. As always, I want to thank everybody for being here. Tell your friends if they like model kits and anime and video game talk and all that. Because it would be nice to have people come and hang out. Who's streaming on a Saturday that we want to go raid? How long have they been streaming? Did they tweet about it? Because this person usually doesn't stream at night. They stream in the afternoon, so we don't get to rate them. So let's see. Oh, yeah. No, they've been streaming for 5 hours. We're not going to rate them. I don't know how much longer they're going to go, but that's not happening. All right, who else? Who else can we rate? This is riveting. I know it's riveting that I'm like, who should we rate? I'm sure you can't believe it. Let's see. Who do we want to go hang out with? We gotta find my great list of people. I mean, Dan's streaming some kind of Donkey Kong thong. Dan's streaming for 800 people. He's not even going to notice we're rating him. I guess we're rating Dan and whatever the fuck Dan is doing. Donkey Kongathon, Banana Palooza 2. I don't know what that... One of Dan's tags is gaming news, which has to be a lie. But we're going to rate Dan Reichert. I don't know. That seems like a choice that I'm making on a Saturday night. We were talking about him, so why not rate him? Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. We are wrapping up. It's an old TV show. Okay, that sounds perfect. Gaming news. But thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. So thanks so much for being here. Feel free to come along this raid. It's going to be silly. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye.